Hello and welcome to another lovely video installment by Cheep Development. Today we are going to go over color palettes. I spent a lot of money on art school for a couple years before I changed my majors a few times, and I know about color palettes. So let's go ahead and get to some of my favorite tools. First off, I'm going to take you to this website. It is Peloton.com, Peletton.com. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit here so all this boy stays on the screen. Kind of weird display going on here, but for the most part, this is viable. There is math and science involved in picking colors. So I'm going to go ahead and reset this boy. Your basic color theory goes over monochromatic with complementary. So that's one place on the color wheel with the opposite color. So orange, opposite blue. Blue, opposite orange. No matter what. So we flip it this way. We can switch it opposite. We can do a adjacent color scheme, which is three colors next to each other on the color wheel. This one lets you scientifically measure the distance. You want 100% red, you pop it up here straight to the 0. And distance, you want 60 degrees. So that means that they are that far apart from each other. Add that complementary color in there and you've got a color scheme. We've got this red, pinky red, this yellow, orange, purple, and green. We've got another one over here with a triad color. Default value is going to be 30 degrees on this one. However, you can increase that to 60. 60 degrees, no, I think it's 90 degrees that makes it, no, I'm a big liar. I think it's 60 degrees makes it evenly spaced. Yeah, because it's 360 degrees, so this is... So that tweaks that. We can add the complementary in there and put the one across from this. Another one is a tetrad, a 4-color color palette. Default value would be 30. You can take those, stretch it. I believe a 90 degree would be equally distant apart from each other. You can rotate that this way. So it just depends on what your colors are. So I'm going to go ahead and pull a adjacent, give it default, and pull probably Cheep's colors here. So I'm going to add the complementary because I like a pop, but these are way too muted. This website lets you play with everything. You can move the value up in saturation, tons of stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and go to presets. You can go to shiny. You can go to full colors. You can go to darker colors. You can go to grayish colors. Bright pastel, light pastel. Tons. So this is really cool if you want to check that distribution of color. I'm going to go ahead and reset this. Put on that adjacent with complementary, roll it over to the teal that Cheep kind of works with. This website does have some tools to give you a colorblind, to desaturate, and a gamma, as well as a web color. If you want to say unable to see color, that's what a website would look like if somebody is unable to see color. Colorblind situation, 5% of men, that's what your color palette would look like to 5% of men and 0.4% of women with a deuteral anomaly. No visual stimulation. So it's just a really easy way to see what those colors would look like. You can pop an example. I think default with text. It's really nice because you can see whether or not small text and large text, an alternative, a different version, all the different colors on here. Got a color scheme designer, color scheme generator. I don't know what those are, but it's pretty cool. Lots of different options. I like, what's circles? Let's see what that looks like. I don't even think that loads. That's unfortunate. I wanted to see circles. But I like looking at it with text because you can see. Now I have gone to the trouble to experiment with this as well as a color contrast checker application. We'll go over that in a second. But if your website needs to be ADA compliant for visually impaired individuals, we have experience in making sure that your website passes that test. One of our awesome clients, 4and6fanatics.com. We are about to do some more changes on her website, but we were able to evaluate her color palette and pick it and choose it and make sure that it was compliant for ADA purposes. So I'll give you guys a rundown on that in a second. First, I want to show you my next favorite color palette generator. This boy is coolors.co, COOLORS.co. And the really cool thing about this is you can punch in any colors. So over on this Peloton, I can get the number of this color. This is the hex code. So every color is 0 through 8 and A through F. And all these numbers are where it's at on the color wheel, how much red, how much green, and how much blue it has. So this one's really cool because you can drag these boys between it, look at the different shades. So if you're like, oh, that red's too dark, let's go ahead and get darker. If you wanted to see, you know, maybe a brighter green, maybe you wanted to see a darker green here, and a darker green here. So if this was a dark color palette, you know, so all these would be kind of down here. This one I believe was the same, this adjacent colors with complementary about here, but I had the brightness like way further up, like right about here, if I remember correctly. So 1, 2, let's undo what we did. That's what we started with. But yeah, I think this was about where I was at with those colors. So I really like this one because it lets you switch between different colors. You can switch. Hex is the web version of colors. It's the ones that are identified between 0 through 8 and A through F. Got a color picker, all colors of the rainbow, and you've got hue, saturation, brightness. We've also got hue, saturation, luminance, which gives you tints and shades both. RGB, which is common for displays. And you've got CMYK, which is most common for print. C being cyan, M being magenta, Y being yellow, and K being black. It says key, but I call it black. So the darker that boy gets, the more black is in it. The lighter these two get, the closer to white they are. So when we take out all the magenta and all the yellow, then it's a very light red. But I don't want to do that. I like my red. Another one, you can select favorites. You can go by name. Colors have names standardized names on the internet. You can go with, if you want to get real fancy, you've got different color formats for Copic markers and Prismacolor markers. I think there's probably somewhere in here is Pantone colors as well. So I literally have these colored pencils, so if I were to say, oh god, I like that dark green 908, or those markers, I could pull that color straight out of the palette here. So it's pretty kind of cool. This boy lets me view it. It will show me the details on all the colors. This is the Copic color, the Prismacolor. That's about, you know, iffy. It's about the name, the lab, the CMYK. So you can pull your color values for web, print, and everything in between. You want to draw with colored pencils? Well, that's the color you need to buy. I believe we've got a color blindness test here. This is also another good tool. It shows you the difference between the colors. So I'm not sure what each of these mean. However, this is what it normally looks like on the top row. And this second row is what it looks like with somebody with that specific variety of color blindness. So you can see that there's not a lot of difference. I mean, let me find this one. In my opinion, all these colors kind of mute out with each other. So this is going to be an interesting one. These ones, they kind of gray out. These ones, they kind of, you know, pop that orange a little bit. This one goes purple, so that's kind of interesting. This one goes gray completely, and that one turns green completely. So you just have to be mindful of what these colors are going to look like. So my next tool, I'm going to go over. I found this application about 2 years ago when working on the website for 4and6fanatics.com. And this app is called Color Contrast Checker by the Pasilio Group. I will make sure the link is there. And what I did was I took that app and downloaded it. So let me go ahead and swap to my other monitor here. Show you guys this app. I took those hex codes from the palette. Actually, I took them from her color palette specifically. So here in Photoshop, I'll show you this rectangle specifically is the red color that we picked. So our main color is that. That's our hex code. So if I paste that hex code in there with the background color, it fails at regular text. It passes at regular text, passes at large text, passes at everything except for this this contrast enhanced. And I believe that there's a lot of details, font sizes and requirements of all of these. It's just a paraphrase. It shows you the details. I believe that I can switch these colors. So if I were to put this on black, now black, this red on top of black will show you that it does not pass any most of the others. The only one it passes on is for large text. So what I did in this lovely Photoshop window here is I built up a box for each color. So each one of these is a layer. I believe her standard font sizes are, oh, where are we at? Oh, cancel. I believe our standard fonts colors are, these are the three. These are the three fonts, the basic colors. On top of that, I put tints and shades. So I've got white boxes on this half up here. I've got white boxes at different opacities up here, and I've got black boxes at different opacities down here. So what I did is I put all of these codes into this color contrast and checked them against these colors specifically. So if I take this, I plucked this color specifically. So I checked black text on this light black background. I checked black text on this background. I checked this text on this background. Obviously, white text on this background does not work, so I didn't even include those. But this file, I have in an editable format that I can swap out for your color palette colors, and we can evaluate colors on blacks and whites on colors at different tints and shades for your website if you need that ADA compliance. So when I say Cheep Development is a one-stop shop for all your graphics needs, I really mean it. There's a lot more to putting your brand on the internet than just picking a color and making a logo and going with it. Sometimes you wouldn't even think, oh, wait, maybe I do need to consider how somebody with color blindness is going to view my website, or how somebody that's visually impaired is going to see my website. Well, wait a second, I guess I can't use this white text on a dark green background. That's not going to be legible. So these ones that I marked out were the fails. So anything that is the large font that isn't X'd out is doable. So we were able to build her website color palette and her styles based off of this and make sure that it was completely compliant. And the reason she needed to do that was because she works with high schools, and the high schools have grant money, and the grant money can only be used towards compliant websites and tools. So she had to make sure that her website, in order to be marketed to her target audience, she had to make sure that her website met those compliance guidelines. So shout out to Lori. We'll put the link to 4and6fanatics.com in the description. I will also put the link to my Peloton, as well as Coolers, the color palette, and a download for that color contrast checker if you're interested in checking it out. But if this is a lot for you, give us a call and we'd be more than happy to work up a color palette, get you started with a logo, and make sure your website is up to par with what you need for your customers. Tune in next time. Hopefully we're going to do a overview on logos and some basic design elements. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.